A concussion is a head injury with a temporary loss of brain function. Concussions can cause a variety of physical, cognitive, and emotional symptoms. Concussions are the most common form of traumatic brain injury. The effects of a concussion are usually temporary, but can include headaches and problems with memory, balance, and coordination. Most people can fully recover from a concussion fairly quickly. The term concussion is derived from the Latin word concutare, which means to shake violently. The brain is surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid, which acts like a cushion protecting the brain from trauma. Concussions may be caused by impact forces, in which the head strikes or is struck by an object, or impulse forces, in which the head moves without being subject to blunt trauma. For example, whiplash in an automobile accident. In this case, the brain may rapidly shift forward and backward, hitting the front and back parts of the skull. Brain injuries are often referred to as a silent epidemic because many people don't recognize the signs and symptoms of a concussion. Unlike a broken arm, we visually cannot identify the presence of a concussion and its harmful effects. Post-concussion syndrome is a complex disorder in which symptoms like headaches, dizziness, difficulty concentrating, or completing tasks can be present for weeks and maybe months. According to research done by the University of Pittsburgh, there is a strong correlation between depression and concussions. Although second impact syndrome is rare, it still can occur. If an athlete is hit in the head prior to the resolution of his first concussion, death may occur. If you think you are concussed, the signs may include memory problems, confusion, drowsiness, dizziness, double vision, headaches, nausea, sensitivity to light or noise, balance problems, or slowed reaction to stimuli. If you think someone you know may be concussed, these are the signs that you should look out for: irritability, balance issues, loss of coordination, problems walking, seizures, draining of blood or clear fluid from the ears or nose, unequal pupil size, abnormal eye movement, lasting confusion, slurred speech, repeated vomiting, brief loss of consciousness after the injury, or an inability to wake up, also known as a coma. IMPACT stands for Immediate Post-Concussion Assessment and Cognitive Testing, which is an online computer-based testing program designed for the management of sports-related concussions. There are two types of testing: baseline and post-injury. At Loomis, all new students and returning juniors are required to take the baseline testing. The baseline testing refers to neurocognitive testing under normal conditions before injury. It takes around 25 minutes to complete. The other type of testing is the post-injury testing. Once an athlete is diagnosed with a concussion, the athlete is tested again when asymptomatic post-injury. The scores from the post-injury test are then compared to the baseline scores. The school doctor will then make the decision if the athlete can return to play, depending on when post-test scores return to baseline. At Loomis, injured athletes are allowed to take the post-injury testing as soon as they are asymptomatic and they are cleared by the school doctor. If the post-testing scores do not recover significantly, the athlete is recommended to see a neurospecialist. IMPACT testing was developed at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Current IMPACT clients include the NFL, NBA, NHL, and MLB. More than 7,400 high schools, including Loomis, use IMPACT testing. Module 1 tests attention span. Module 2 tests working memory, which is the part of short-term memory that is concerned with immediate conscious perceptual and language processing. Module 3 tests sustained and selective attention time. Selective and sustained attention, also known as focus attention, is the level of attention that produces the consistent results on a task over time. Module 4 tests nonverbal problem solving, which involves the ability to understand and analyze visual information and solve problems using visual reasoning. Module 5 tests reaction time. All Loomis students who show signs and symptoms of a concussion must report to the health center for initial evaluation. Diagnostic evaluation for boarding students is performed at the health center by the nurse practitioner. Day students are evaluated by their own healthcare provider. If a student is unable to attend classes due to the severity of symptoms, the student is placed on a concussion leave and sent home for recovery. The director of studies or his associate contacts all the student's teachers to make academic arrangements when a student is placed on concussion leave. The student's physician calls the Loomis Chaffee medical director when the student is healthy, symptom-free, and cleared to begin the concussion leave's return to work protocol. Once a diagnosis has been established, the nurse practitioner will send out the standard concussion email. This communication is addressed to the student's dean, the student's dorm head, the student's advisor, the counseling department, the director of studies, the director of academic support, the athletic department, the coach, and the athletic trainers. Parents are notified, and clinical findings and diagnosis and initial plan of care are discussed. Every student who receives a blow to the head, no matter how insignificant, must report to the health center for evaluation. For injuries sustained at Loomis, the athletic trainer must be notified in order to transport the athlete to the health center. For injuries sustained at visiting schools, the host school's athletic trainer should be notified for evaluation and treatment of suspected concussion. Upon return to Loomis, it is the coach's responsibility to bring the student to the health center. The Loomis Chaffee nurse on duty will complete the initial head injury evaluation form, call the parent and dorm head, and instruct the student to be evaluated by the nurse practitioner the following day. After the student returns to the health center the following day, they will be evaluated by the nurse practitioner. The nurse will then perform a complete evaluation on the student, diagnosing if they are concussed or not. Each day following diagnosis, students must return to the nurse practitioner for evaluation. Once asymptomatic and neurologically clear, the nurse practitioner refers the student to the athletic trainers for post-concussion testing. Once a concussed athlete has finished taking the post-concussion impact test, the athletic trainer will notify the student's parents of the test results. If the student passes, the athletic trainers will review the 5-day return-to-play protocol and discuss plans with the student, coach, and parents. The nurse practitioner completes the cycle and sends out an email stating the student no longer has a concussion and has passed the impact test. Post-medical clearance, the student is required to meet with a member of the counseling department. If the student fails, the student will need to reschedule another post-concussion test, usually 3 days later. Students who have been on concussion leave for 2 weeks or less must follow a 2-day return-to-work monitored protocol. For each additional week of leave, 1 day is added to the protocol up to 4 days. Upon completion of each required day of the protocol, parents should contact the director of studies to relate the details of the student's return to work. After the required days of meeting the protocol, the dean of students will consult with the parents and director of studies and determine the student's time of return. On day 1, the student may begin completing reading assignments for no more than 20 minutes at a time. The student must take an equal amount of break time between reading times. The student should not exceed 60 minutes of reading time on day 1. On day 2, the student may begin completing other class assignments in addition to reading for no more than 30 minutes at a time. The student must take an equal amount of break time between work times. The student should not exceed 90 minutes of work time on day 2. On day 3, the student may increase the total work time to 120 minutes. Equal amounts of break time must be taken between work times as above. The results of the post-concussion impact test have been reviewed by the school's doctor, and it has been determined that the athlete has passed impact and may begin the process of returning to play. The student will meet with the athletic trainers to review and prepare for their 5-day return-to-play protocol. On day 1, athlete may begin light aerobic exercise, 20 minutes of jogging, no contact. On day 2, the athlete may practice sport-specific training, 40 minutes, no contact. On day 3, the athlete may practice with non-contact drills. On day 4, the athlete may practice with full contact drills. On day 5, the athlete may return to gameplay. Continued concussion education is necessary because if undiagnosed, concussed athletes may develop long-term health issues. In high school, it is a pertinent issue as athletes are still developing and growing, so we must maintain as educated as possible in regard to concussions for the safety and well-being of our students. Loomis Chaffee is committed to concussion education as we are a community that not only encourages students to take part in sports, but also an environment that maintains the strength and health of our students.